Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Hello and welcome to Atomic Movie Reviews Film Society. I am your host, Atum-Kheperi-Re. Here we discuss films that have a narrative background and aliens, ghosts, robots, and monsters. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Okay, so we're going to switch up the pace a little bit. We're going to do a deep dive. I noticed that on my Return of the God series that you guys were really liking it. All of 2 views I got. So since you guys enjoy that series so much, we're gonna do a part 2. So this is the Return of the God series, part 2. We're gonna talk about the Egyptian pantheon. I have here so the way I'm gonna approach this, I'm gonna approach them like they're rock stars. Like each one of these gods are rock stars, or like WD, WWE, wrestlers, or shoot, hell, X-Men. That's how I look at these gods, and that's how I'm going to be talking about them. So I got here underneath my notes assumptions. Moses was raised an Egyptian, and the Bible is a composite creation mythos of Egyptian and Sumerian beliefs. Not sure why I had that, but I had it there, so I had to speak on it. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Atum-Ra. Okay, now a lot of people, there's been a whole like resurgence in like Egyptian and Greek pantheons and gods and everything. And so now everybody found out that there's an Egyptian god by the name of Atum, right? They keep calling him Atum, like a tomb in the Egyptian desert, but that's not how you pronounce his name. It's autumn, like the fall. Let that sink in. Just let that sink in. Okay, anyway, so height, no one knows how tall he was. Weight, no one knows how heavy he was. Age, I got 900 plus years. There's something about the Egyptian beliefs about God that he was so old and so ancient that his lifespan far exceeded normal human beings' lifespan, and that's why he was the god. The real unique thing about the Egyptian pantheon beliefs when it comes to Ra or Atum-Ra is that they really believe that the founder of their civilization was God incarnate, like the God that created the sun and the moon. Like they think that that entity created their society. And I don't know. I don't think I've really come across anybody else actually claiming that. Like there's different mythos of gods and stuff like that. Japan has a god that founded their religion, but not that they don't say that he's the god of the entire universe. They don't ever say that. The Egyptians do. Okay, so age is he was 900 plus. Origin, he comes from the abyss. Weakness, I got for poison. Title, what type of person he is. I put as ghost. The symbol would be the Wachat. That's that serpent with the sun disk on top of him. That's his symbol. Ability, has the ability to induce sleep. His special attack would be like an electric pulse, something like that. Element, I put for psychic. He has to have massive mental psychic abilities if you know, imagining things into existence. Is he ancient or future? I put both, being that it's eternal. Okay, so that's the basic bio of Atum-Ra. So let's do the deep dive. So, what is the Heliopolis theology? The I'm just gonna put Helio theology because it's just too much. Is the Egyptian creation myth centered around the city of On. Now, On is modern day Cairo. It's basically to the Egyptians idea That's the first place where God brought Earth out of the ocean. Like that's like the center of the world. Um, it explains the origins of the universe, the gods, the cosmic order, and forming the foundation of Egyptian religious beliefs. Okay, so Atum, one of the oldest deities in Egyptian mythology, he is closely linked to creation as the self created God. He represents the origin of all things, and he emerged from the primal waters by himself to create the world. His role is creator God. He gives divine authority to the king, who was seen as a manifestation of God on earth. He was said to exist within the primal waters inside of his egg, because he's a serpentine type of entity. He is cause su. He is self-caused. He imagined himself into existence, having pre-existed in the primal waters of chaos. Some beliefs say that he existed before the primal waters. Other myths say he was born of it. So it just depends. The mound, he created the mound to occupy it similar to a home. So his body is his home, right? Like his body is the temple, the body is the temple or whatever. But in this mythos, the first mound, the first patch of earth that came out of the ocean is his home. He took as his home. Okay, understanding the mythic structure of the first time Zepi. Now, so what I did with this was I kind of divided Autumn's life into three separate incarnations. And that's kind of how I'm interpreting this. I may be wrong, I may be off. I didn't run it through AI. Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should. But anyways, so it's very biblical in a sense that there are steps to creation, but the Egyptian beliefs was that the God itself embodied each creation. So when it comes to the biblical mythos, basically God speaks everything into the universe, right? Now, when it comes to the Egyptian mythos, God would be the first bug, right? And then he evolved to become the first bird. And then he evolved to become the first man, so on and so forth. Okay, so anyways. So Kheperi, or I think it's Kheperi, I think that's how you pronounce it. That's a bug's life. That's basically where there was nothing but bugs on planet Earth. There were no animals or anything like that. It was just a bug's life. Okay. And then Ra, I put as a bird's life. That's basically, Ra is basically the Egyptian god Atum with what I was assuming was a mask of a bird. That they were just doing some sort of ritual. But now, doing research and some other things that came out into the UFO or the UAP phenomenon, I'm thinking he was actually a bird, like a bird man. A bird man. But that's what I think. So I put that as a bird's life. So a little bit about his mythos. The Duat is like this hidden dimension underneath our dimension, underneath the skin of this world. So Ra would have to travel to like the underworld every night, and he would battle strange monsters like Abeb and all of this stuff. And the reason why I think Abeb is like this great giant serpent that Ra had a battle every night before he woke up, right? And it's this great serpent with red eyes and everything. One of the mythos has Ra being bit by a snake, and he essentially dies because he didn't create the snake, right? So he doesn't have an antidote for the poison of the snake. So the snake bites him and dies. Okay, I think that him coming across some giant snake in the underworld may have something to do with that, with him dying by snake, right? And then he goes into a afterlife and he has to battle this great giant snake. I don't know. I think there's a connection to. I could be wrong though. Anyway, so his solar bark, raw solar bark, would be able to travel between the life of the living and the dead. And basically, it would travel through these gates or portals. Um, it was he called it the boat of millions of years. I'm assuming that this is some sort of UFO type of thing. He called it the boat of millions of years and could travel across dimensions of heaven and the realms of the dead. So I think that was pretty interesting. And then we have Atum or Atum, which is just God as a human life. Okay, and so the basic solar cycle is representing through morning, noon, and even cycles. So morning would be the beginning of life, where everything was a bug's life, and then it hits its peak where everything's a bird's life, and then it starts to fall, and now everything is a human life. Okay, moving on. Origins and creations. What are the gods? Okay, the gods are primal conscious forces that govern the cosmos. The gods teach humans while protecting boundaries of time and space, constantly recalibrating the world to protect against chaos. So the Egyptian idea was to prevent the flood from coming back. That was the main goal. And in order to do that, like the king had to do all kinds of special rites and rituals in order to keep the gods, or well, to keep the flood at bay. And so their whole life was revolved around protecting life from falling back into chaos. How did the gods come into existence? Okay, well, Ra created himself through pure imagination. The gods are his offspring, and he either, I mean, one mythos is that he sneezed and spit out the gods, and the other one he um, ate his baby goo, okay, swallowed it and impregnated himself. I'm gonna let you find that myth out for yourself. Okay, moving on. And that may have just been, the Egyptians' way of really trying to say that the god is really self created. And like there's nothing out there that created their god, right? Or the gods that came after. So how do they explain him having children? Well, of course, he impregnated himself. So that's basically what they're saying. And another myth is I heard that the gods were chanted into existence. But that goes back to the whole speaking the world into existence. And I'm not sure that that applies to Atum's mythos. What cosmic forces shaped them? Okay. Well, the fear of returning to the primal waters of chaos, a sort of unconsciousness. How are gods created? Oh, chanted or sung into existence. Maybe I should have read that first. What does that look like? The ocean laid an egg, and from that egg, the first creative god emerged from the waters, a self created, translucent, serpentine entity. Made a mountain of earth from its broken eggshell and dwelt within it. Kheperi. Miat and the celestial mandate has the son of God, Atum, is father of mankind, and he is supposed to take care and protect and morally guide his subjects. Okay, gods interacted with humans but then withdrew because of rebellion and sacrilege. So that's basically what happened. So Adam basically quit talking to human beings on two separate occasions. The first, and I didn't bring up the celestial cow. Did I not? No, I didn't bring it up. Well, I know it by heart. So there are two things that happen. So the first thing that happened was so Raw. I'll just say Raw. Well, no, I'm gonna say Adam. So Adam is getting old. Adam's like 900 plus years old, right? And he's doing his Joe Biden thing, right? He's kind of drooling and his speech is slurred. Like all the pistons are not firing, right? He's really, really, really old. The fucker's 900 years old, right? And so people rebel, right? Just like they did against Joe, right? They tried to overthrow him. Well, being the actual physical God of the universe, all right, to overthrow him, all right, would endanger everybody's life because he's the God, right? Like to kill him kills everybody. So at first he sends basically one of his children, right? He turns one of his children into what is essentially a vampire. Like we'll do a deep dive on the celestial cow later on, but it's a vampire, and he unleashes the vampire. Right? He feels bad because the vampire lays waste, like on some Passover, Easter Day, Sunday thing, lays waste. The angel of death type of nonsense, right? So he feels bad, and he has to try to call her back, right? Well, she's a vampire. She don't want to call back. She doesn't want to come back, right? So he has to deceive her. He has to get some beer and dye it of red, make it look like blood, and like pour it off into the street, right? So when the vampire comes across it, it starts drinking the beer. It gets drunk, falls to sleep, and then Ra is able to reprogram her, right? Something about sleep and reprogramming these gods. So that's basically what happens. Well, they rebel again. Okay, but this time they're actually trying to kill Ra. They're trying to kill Adam, right? So he's like, no, we're not sending the vampire this time. This time, I've had enough with human beings. So he sends the flood, right? And he sends the flood, and a lot of people die, and he becomes really, really sad about it. And so he doesn't send the flood again, right? He just stops talking to human beings, right? So his attitude is like, well, if you guys can keep trying to provoke me and keep trying to disrespect me, I've already checked you twice. Well, I've already checked you one time, and I sent a damn vampire, okay? And you guys just started disrespecting me again. So we're going to end this, okay? So he ended up sending the flood. He killed a shitload of people who had nothing to do with the rebellion, okay? And that's probably why he felt bad about it. So after that, he just stopped talking to people and like took off, okay? So let me just close off with my final notes here. It says, what happened during Zepi? It says, Ra ruled directly over human beings. There was no separation between the divine and the human. There were semi-divine beings, children of gods and humans. And knowledge and power flowed freely between them. Eventually, something disrupted the harmony. Chaos, rebellion, and entropy began creeping in. Ra and the other gods withdrew into the sky, or the Duat, the hidden world, or higher dimensions, leaving behind priest kings and mythic memories. And so that's what we've been dealing with ever since. We've been dealing with not the gods, but their representations. Okay, well that's my sermon for today. We're gonna top it up right there, and Atum-Kheperi-Re out. Talk to you guys later. Bye bye.